Hey Google, turn on video light. Hey, Brian Miller here, author, speaker, magician, podcast host, and audio nerd. And welcome to Audio for Content Creators, where we help you sound better and level up for all your content creation needs. This is a simple comparison between two budget shotgun mics for content creation, the Rode Video Micro and the Movo VXR10. I have already done a bajillion videos comparing these two mics, but in this particular video, we're comparing them not for on-camera use, like we normally would for vlogging. We're comparing them as boom mics. So right now, both of them are sitting just out of frame. They're about, they're about just about, I'd say 12 to 14 inches away from my mouth, sitting just out of frame. And one of them is being recorded into, so the Rode is going into the left channel of my Tascam DR05, the Movo is going into the right channel, and in post-production I've split them apart, leveled them out so they're both at the same perceived volume. And then I'm just switching back and forth over the course of this video for you to hear the difference in if you wanted to use these for talking head shots instead of having it sat on your camera. Because right now my camera is about 3 feet away from me. I'm using the Canon M6, a mirrorless camera with a 22mm EFM lens. Now 22 in a crop sensor camera in the Canon crop sensor is the equivalent of a 35 in full frame. So you get the sense this is about 3 feet away from me, and if I switch you over to the inbuilt mics in the camera, this is what that sounds like. They're noisy, they're hissy, they're echoey, and they should be because they're built-in mics to a camera. They have virtually non-existent preamps, and it's pretty far away from me in an untreated room. Now, I wanted to do one more comparison in this room before it gets acoustic treatment because I've been in here for 8 or 9 months. This is a new house, this is a new studio, but I haven't had a chance to treat the room yet, and I'm part way through that build out right now. I haven't done any of the actual acoustic panels yet, but there's going to be 11 of them that go up, massive bass traps and diffusion panels and all sorts of things on the walls, on the ceiling, in the corners. So this room is going to end up being a very different sounding space by the next time you see a tutorial or review video on this channel. But I'm partway through the process in that I've put up a handful of thick curtains in place of the blinds that used to be up in here. There's one on that window over there, there's one sitting right behind me, and there's a pair of curtains in place of the double doors for the closet. And so for a variety of reasons, one of which is that I can get easier access to the stuff in the closet by just opening and closing. I don't need to worry about leaving all that space in front of the closet where the doors open up, right? You have to leave all that space open. Now I don't have to worry about doors opening up, plus the benefit of having curtains there instead of hard wood reflective surfaces. So this room, just from putting curtains up, is already sounding less echoey than it did just in the previous videos on this channel. But I wanted to get a sense of how these budget, $40 to $60 microphones would sound if you wanted to use them for a boom situation. Now, as I mentioned, I'm recording them directly into the Tascam DR05 so that I could record them both and split them up later and bounce back and forth. But if you were using either of these in this situation, all you would need to do is get a cheap microphone stand, a thread adapter for a microphone thread adapter to a 1/4 inch, and then you can just screw either of these microphones on to the 1/4 inch thread adapter and use a long extension cable to go from the mic to your camera. And I'll have links to all that stuff in the description of this video. You can do that on the very, very, very cheap, and then you could record a boom setup like this, capturing much better, much more high quality audio than if you had one of these mics sitting on your camera 3 or 4 or 5 feet away from you, depending on your lens. You also get the benefit doing this of not dealing with plosives, right? Because the microphone's not right in front of me, so all those all that harsh P's and B's when you send air out straight out of your mouth, there's no chance of it getting into either of these mics. I don't know if you could tell right now that I'm getting over a cold. I feel like you can hear it, but I also know that whenever I have a cold and I do a video, it's mostly just in my head. So if you can hear a little bit of the fact that I'm getting over a cold and I'm a little nasally right now, thanks for bearing with that. At this point, you should be hearing these microphones go back and forth. I don't think I need to belabor the point. I'm not monitoring it right now, so if I were to guess what you're hearing, I would guess that the Rode Video Micro sounds pretty crisp, sounds like it has better clarity, but I would also guess that it sounds pretty thin and a little harsh, if anything, because the Video Micro rolls off the bass at 100 hertz, which is a really aggressive bass cut. But in this room, at the moment, this is still a bass-heavy room because I haven't treated it yet. There's a lot of bass buildup in this room. And so the Rode Video Micro might be a good complement in a room like this that's bass-heavy if you weren't going to treat it. On the other side, the Movo VXR10, which, at this point, you know my bias. I've done a million videos on this. I much prefer the Movo for YouTube, for online content creation, if I had to choose. They're both great mics, but if I had to choose, and I did choose, for the span of 2 years, I exclusively used the Movo VXR10. I'm guessing it sounds a little bit fuller, a little bit deeper, a little bit bassier, but I'm guessing it sounds a little bit more muffled, a little bit less clear, because the Movo goes all the way down to, I think, 35 hertz. So you capture all the bass response, but it doesn't quite have the crisp, clear high end that the Rode does. So the Movo tends to be on the other side, pretty warm, pretty full, but it can sound a little muffled or a little dull without any post-processing. And on that note, let me show you what a very simple amount of EQ can do to each of these microphones. So now you're hearing the Rode Video Micro with a little bit of post-processing EQ if I were actually doing that for video. And this is what the Movo VXR10 would sound like if I was doing some EQ in post for the purposes of video. And now let me give you the exact same sentence 2 times in a row. I'm going to show it to you with the Rode and then the Movo unprocessed, and then the Rode and Movo processed, all with the exact same sentence. So here we go. By its 5th season, Friends was well on its way to becoming one of the most successful television shows of all time. By its 5th season, Friends was well on its way to becoming one of the most successful television shows of all time. By its 5th season, Friends was well on its way to becoming one of the most successful television shows of all time. By its 5th season, Friends was well on its way to becoming one of the most successful television shows of all time. Alright, I'd love to know what you think when it comes to using a budget shotgun mic as a boom microphone, getting it out of the frame for a talking headshot like this. Do you prefer the Rode or do you prefer the Movo? Let us know in the comments, not only with which one you preferred, but what your thoughts are on each of them in general. Let me know what you'd like to see in future videos, microphone reviews, tutorials, post-processing, EQ, anything like that. Many of you who follow this channel already know that I have an online course in beginner audio. You can check that out right here at audio101.info. That's one of the fastest ways to support me, my work, and my channel. Also, you can go down to the description and click any of those links. They are affiliate links that give me a small commission at no cost to you that also directly supports the channel, and I really appreciate it. So thanks so much for sticking with me on this journey to sound better and level up, and we'll see you in the next video. Okay, I'd love to know what you think. Do you... Jesus. That's so gross. So nice. It's... Oh, God. It's... I'm glad I don't have a team that's with me. I'm just by myself in a room when I do this stuff. Man, I hate being stuffed up. And I already hate future me for using that as the outro to this video. Thanks, future me. I know you think it's funny.